Hey everybody, this is Tim Gross and welcome back. This is week 5. This is going to be the wrap-up for the advanced traffic course, and we have got a lot of interesting stuff to cover, including a lot of odds and ends and ins and outs of things that confuse people, and we're going to address questions that we had gotten when you guys had signed up in the first place. So let's just dive right in. Jonathan, are you there?
I am. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing well.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to cover in this last live session of the webinar is we're going to go over some of the member questions, but we're going to start with something that I think is very important, and that is offer selection. You know, there are a lot of offers out there, a lot of people. They go to Offer Vault and they go there with the idea of finding an offer, and what they do is they find 14,000 offers or 21,000 offers or whatnot. And the problem with that is that it doesn't really tell them what to do or what path to take. So we're going to look at a couple of different variables, and one of the ways that we do our testing here at Cyberwave that's been really, very helpful for us in terms of choosing stuff that actually converts. So let's look at the agenda. The first thing we're going to cover is the split testing of affiliate products in niche markets. We'll just basically go through our split testing protocol. We'll basically go through the whole process so that you can see actually how we did it, which one we actually loaded up, and which ones actually were displayed, and what won the contest in terms of the split test. So listen, I think the most important thing to think about is that when you're out there on the internet, you're going to notice offers. And I think I'm actually going to back up a little bit further. I'm going to head over to the browser. Let's see what we got here. So what I want to do, let me expand this a little bit more for you guys. What I want to do is talk a little bit about how I choose offers. And one of the things that was interesting last week is when Christian was on, he said one of the things that will really help you is to have a curiosity about advertising. And that's something that I really do have, is a huge curiosity about advertising. When I go to websites, I tend to look at the banners before I look at the content and the little teaser ads and the pop-ups. And when my wife and I are hanging around on the couch and she says, "Darn, I got a pop-up," I'm like, oh, save it for me, let me lick the spoon, meaning that what I want to do is I want to see what ads are being delivered specifically to people in my household, to my wife, to people in her demographic category, and that's really something that's interesting to me and something that should be interesting to you. So I'm going to show you a little trick. You're probably wondering why the screen is all taken here. What I like to do is, first of all, I actually go up to my tools, and I go to Start Private Browsing. And the reason I do this is because now my browser doesn't have any cookies, and it doesn't have any, browser connection in terms of databases or anything else to any websites, which means that when I go out and I start surfing on the internet and I find ads, those are ads that I'm going to find instead of ads that find me. Now, it's really great to see a bunch of ads that, have found me because I know who's doing remarketing. But when I put my browser into private mode, and I'm sure that you can do this on a PC, and I'm also sure you can do it, on all the browsers. There's obviously a mode that will allow you to do this. It's usually a privacy or some sort of security setting where you delete your cookies. What happens is that I go out like just a fresh surfer. And it's really important that you kind of take on the mindset of somebody who is almost has a naivete about advertising when you go out there. You're not looking for anything specific. You're just looking to see what happens. And this is my own personal thing that I do. I go to Google News, but there are a lot of places that you can do this. And what I look for is a whole bunch of different websites that are out there that I know are A, popular, and B, sell advertising. So I'm going to open all these in a new window, and I'll just click on a few of them here. And I'll just like their salon, and I'll actually pay attention. I'll probably grab a Los Angeles Times one, a Charlotte Observer, the Maui News, and I will literally load up my browser with maybe 20 or 30 different websites. And again, I do this in private mode, so all the banners that I get are going to be fresh banners. I'm not going to see any remarketing banners or anything like that unless they're using some super sophisticated technology. But generally, what I'm going to find is just the fresh advertisements. Hello? Hey, Tim?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh my gosh. So obviously there is something playing here.
No, I'm not hearing
Go
anything.
ahead.
It's just you. It's not.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Oh my God, I'm hearing all this stuff on the computer here. Okay, so it's probably one of these banner ads. This is just, it drives my wife crazy when we do this. So what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll just start taking a look at all the ads that display. And I'll see what's going on. And what I'll find is that, there we go. You guys couldn't hear it, but I had this like thumping disco beat from some sort of web banner or something. I will actually look for stuff, and I will really start to pay attention to what's going on. Like, I've never seen this before, Deal Saver. This looks like it might be some sort of, maybe new Groupon ripoff or something like that. And I will really just go through and I will click around and I'll try to get a ton of browser windows open, and I'm just looking for ads. And what happens is when I start to see ads and I really start to notice that there are certain trends that start to hit me, like I'll keep seeing the same ad again and again, knowing it's not a remarketing banner, I know these guys are spending a heck of a lot of money. Like the one quick tip to lose belly fat, that one, not only do they remarket, but those ads are all over the place. So that's how I knew that that was really a popular website. So once I find stuff that really looks interesting, and I'm going to see it over and over and over again, I start to make a list of what these offers are. This is just what Christian talked about, and maybe I'll pretty much categorize things in terms of, like what category they are, what kind of offer they are. In other words, are they a soft offer? Is it paying per lead? Does it pay per sale? Is it a book? What's the structure of that offer? I want to know where I can get it. In other words, like which networks carry it. I'll want to figure out, how I can run it or tweak it, and I'll figure out how much it pays so I can get an idea of whether or not I might actually make money with it. And so over the last year or so, I started to notice a huge amount of products in the solar energy niche. And, solar was always one of those things that you could find if you search for it on the internet, but you wouldn't really see it out there in terms of banner ads or text ads, and you certainly wouldn't see it in your email box. And I started to see a ton of solar energy products being sold. I started to see a ton of ebooks and other products that were about solar energy. So we actually had a couple of different categories of offers. We had aggregators and lead providers who were providing solar energy contractors with leads. We had solar panel companies, some of which were lead generation type of offers. And then we had ebooks and guys like on ClickBank. If you look at my screen here and the email, all this stuff up here is all solar stuff from ClickBank offer, the Screen DIY Energy, and we'll look at this offer specifically. And then this solar power stuff is all local contractors or other types of lead gen systems. And so once I started to see this stuff all over the place in my inbox, in pop-ups, in banner ads, in text ads, within the internet at large, I realized that, hey, this solar thing might be big. Now I know solar is going to be big, and you guys all know solar is going to be big. But this is one of those things that if you're a little bit too early, you don't make any money, because someone needs to actually be the first guy or the first girl to go out there and break down the door and write the ebook and see if they can sell it, or create the lead gen form and actually start collecting leads and see whether or not anybody's going to pay $20,000 or $30,000 for a solar system. And so you don't want to be the very first, but you also don't want to wait until it's a mature market. You want to be right on the cutting edge, but not the bleeding edge, right? So you want to be, you want to let the thing kind of evolve into itself. I still think we're in a very cutting edge place with this particular market. This is, by the way, I'm not recommending you go into this market. I'm not saying if you do, you'll make a lot of money. I'm not saying this is the only market. I'm just using this as an example because it's something that I personally have an interest in. And I believe that if you personally have an interest in something, you're going to probably do a whole lot better with it, because you'll be able to write copy and you'll be able to actually authentically create a website and a business presence and just all the stuff that you need because you really like it. So I started to notice all this stuff, and what I decided to do, because I couldn't find, this was a while back, couldn't find any offers for lead gen on the CPA networks. I believe there are now, but at the time the only thing that there were ClickBank offers. And so I went ahead and I found these offers on ClickBank. And basically what I did is I went to ClickBank's screen here. This is their marketplace. And I just entered in, actually they have a whole section for green products, so I just clicked on the green products. And I was looking for the very top sites right here. So we had one called Earth for Energy, and we had MagnuWork, and we had Green DIY Energy, and we had a couple more. And what I decided to do is I decided to see which one of these offers actually works best. So I went ahead into my HyperTracker account, and I basically set up these ClickBank hop links for all the different products that I wanted to promote. I picked actually the top 4, I believe, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 ClickBank products that were dealing with solar energy. There was some other stuff in green energy, but I really wanted to focus on the solar energy, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But I set these up, so this is actually a rotation script. In your HyperTracker account, and you can also do this in One Shopping Cart, and you can do it in Fusion, and you can do it, there's a lot of different places or ways that you can test, split test different offers. But I decided to use the HyperTracker account, and I went ahead and I used this TID right here. This is a sub-ID, and it's just called split. And so what would happen is when one of these products sells through my affiliate link, which is this link, this number right here, it would show up as a sub-ID under the word split. So I could tell when I promoted this offer which one of these was actually going to win. And then what I did is I did something interesting. We talked a little bit about generic offer creation.
Well, hopefully he's getting reconnected or something like that. Let's talk about generic offer creation, because the point being you want to have, it's good to have very specific landing pages and banners and stuff to drive leads into a certain offer. But when you're trying to test new markets, what you really want is a generic type of pitch that you can use for any product. So as long as it's for that niche, you don't have to go and tweak it and try to recreate it, because that's too much trouble. Because at this point, you're just looking to maximize the information you're able to gain in as little amount of time. And so if you spend too much time just tweaking a specific banner for a specific test you want to do in a specific landing page, you're really just not using your time very well. And so that's the problem with that. So the generic offer, you just want to have something just in the can, so when a new offer pops up and you see it on a CPA network or as an affiliate, you can just grab it and with just a couple of minutes, just pop in and do the promotion, whether you're doing a promotion to your own list or if you are doing it with a banner campaign or through text ads or whatever you're doing. But the point is you want to just be able to do it quick, because at this point the whole goal is just to do a bunch of tests, like literally as many tests as you can, to find out what works. Because even if you find the proper niche, let's say that the whole solar thing really is potentially really good, there could be 4 different offers, and looking over them, no one can say which is outpulling the other. Like, you really won't know unless you test it. So unless you've got the generic offer to be able to jump out and test all 3 or 4 as quickly as possible, you might wind up spending, you could easily spend a few hours just building up a campaign just for one, and then if it doesn't work, you're just too tired to go and spend, well, I'm not going to spend tomorrow trying to test this niche with the other 3 products, because it's a kind of a waste of time, because you have no idea whether any of them are going to work. So that's the whole point about the generic offer creation, and the reason is that you just want to be able to roll out as quickly as possible. Now, when we're frozen on the screen, so I can't move up to the next one, but the next screen is about creating a teaser ad. So what we would do is send to a variety, if this is assuming that you have a list that you've already built up, so this is why we're talking about list segments. But you want to test all kinds of different things. So in addition to testing different offers, you want to test different subject lines, and if you don't have a list, you're going to be using CPV. That would be the next best thing to do for the test, and rotate the pages equally to see what produces the highest response. And you can easily do that with, there's multiple software and scripts that you can use for that, but one of them, for instance, is HyperTracker, and that's what we use a lot. And so just load everything up, because really, it's just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and there's no way to predict in advance what's going to do better than the other. So using HyperTracker or any other type of a split test, it allows you to really quickly and easily be able to find out what works, because with email, the subject line is everything, and if the subject line just doesn't appeal to somebody to get them to click, you're never going to find out if the problem was the market that you were going after, the segment, what it said in the email. So everything is just really crucial. So testing everything, including a bunch of different subject lines, is going to be really important. Now, the next screen is on market research, and again, I apologize for not being able to scroll over to the next screen, but until Jonathan manages to get connection back on. That's one of the downsides of being in Maui, by the way. I've been in Maui 3 times, and it's very not unusual for connections and stuff to go down there, including power overall, not to mention internet. But so with doing the market research, this test that we sent out using HyperTracker, it generated 772 clicks, and it was split between each ClickBank offer. So HyperTracker handles the split and lets you see what's going on, and then you just monitor to see what occurs. And hopefully Jonathan will be on in a minute. We can pull up these screens so you can see what we're looking at here. But so after everything was said and done, this particular test generated 9 sales, and there was a clear winner, which was called Solar DIY, which of course stands for Do It Yourself. So the point of that was that went through multiple different offers, multiple different headlines, multiple different ad creatives, and find out what works. So now we are way ahead of the game, because we found a specific offer that's outpulling all the others, and now you know what to promote and model for your own product. So, or of course, if you were just functioning as an affiliate, what you would want to do is just obviously promote to that offer. But it goes back to something that we were talking about in a previous webinar, which is that you have to have one constant that's known. You can't take an unknown product or an unknown offer and then go out and start running campaigns on a network that you don't have expectations about what you're going to expect, or you could have expectations on a certain network but in a certain niche that you don't know what to expect, because there's just too many variables. Because when you do your advertising and you don't get any response, well, who knows what the problem was? There's no way to tell whether it occurred because because of what you were actually promoting, or whether it was your subject line, or whether it was just the network, or where you were running your banners or pop-ups or text ads or whatever it is that you're running. So that was the sort of step one of the whole point of doing these split tests, is now that we know that the solar DIY was the clear winner. It generated 9 sales total, and DIY just did the best. So now we know what to do. So when we move on to do promotions to specific networks, we know we've got our ducks in a row, and we're rolling out with their best foot forward. So whatever response that we get from there, we're going to know that we're doing the best that we can with the best offer. And of course, if we are creating our own offer, that's a whole nother deal, because we can use that to model. So, and that's extremely important for product creation, because I have, a long time ago, I spent an entire month doing product creation for something that I just had not tested out ahead of time. And when I finally tried to roll out, I just got nothing, just no response at all. So that was very disappointing, and I vowed never to do that again. So what Jonathan was just going over here about doing these tests to other products that you can model yourself after is exactly the way to get around that, because the reason that product sold is because the specific bullet points or the specific claims that were done with that headline, I'm sorry, with the entire ad, are what made the most sales. So it's really everything, and I would never step forward to create a product of my own without doing this preliminary stuff that we're talking about first. So the next slide, which you can't see, is it says Green DIY Energy, Green Do-It-Yourself Energy, and the headline is Discover My Solar Secrets in this Tell-All presentation below. And it is a video presentation, which is also very interesting to know, because I do a lot of copywriting, and different markets vary very greatly with video ads. And one of the things that I think is easy to be misled with people is that when gurus are selling you information about how to make your sales letter most effective, and they basically say, hey, video sales letters are outpulling regular sales letters, period. I mean, it would be crazy for you to do just a text sales letter these days, because video converts so much better. Well, what they mean is in their market, because in general, people who are selling you information about copywriting are normally selling to you. They're selling to people who are trying to buy information about how to sell more. And so what they've really established is they've figured out that for this specific market, the video outpulls. But if you're dealing with sort of a technical market, or people that there's my dad's a electrical engineer and a ham radio guy, and those guys have no patience to sit through a 40-minute sales letter in order to buy something. I mean, there's no way in heck. So if you insisted on trying to use a video sales letter for that, you would be not getting good results at all. So that's one of the main things. And again, as far as doing split tests, we're actually doing a split test right now for video sales letter versus text sales letter. And by the way, the results that we've gotten have been pretty much split right now. But one thing that we're doing that I don't really see people do too much is, I've always had the theory that people that buy from your text sales letter are probably going to be more qualified customers, possibly, than people who buy from a video sales letter. And the reason for that is that sometimes the people who are willing to sit through a 40-minute sales letter may not if the fact that they have the time to do it, or they like to be sold that way, may be an indication that they've got maybe too much free time in their hands, and they're not actually doing, maybe not quite as successful as the people who just want to get the bare bones text information. And so even if the video presentation is selling a little bit better than the text, my opinion is that there's a decent chance that for later upsells, when you roll out with something that costs more, 10 times more, or like some kind of a private coaching or that type of a thing, that there's a very good chance that they may not be as well qualified. So I don't only keep that in mind as far as looking at the front-end sales, unless the video sales letter is completely outpulling it. But what I was just going to say about the video sales letter split that we're doing right now is that I have a link right under the video sales letter that says, in quotation, in parentheses, it says video not work or just hate video, click here. And what it does is it just goes to a second page where it's literally a transcription of the what I wrote for the video sales letter, because that is what I want to present to them, is the information in the video sales letter. So I just take the actual text for that sales letter and just lay it out for them to read. And it's interesting, it really doesn't feel as powerful when you read through the written transcript of the video sales letter. But at the same time, all the information's there, and I don't want to lose somebody just because they just refuse to watch video. And at least they can see the way we're doing it, how long it's going to be. Boy, I hate it when you can't tell how long a sales letter is going to be, and it turns out to be, a 40-minute video or something like that. But hey.
I'm back.
Oh, okay. Hey, cool. Hey, hold on just a second. I'm going to finish my sentence, and then I'll tell you where we're at here, okay? So I'm just letting them in on a little what we're doing right now with the test with the video sales letter is having a little link that says hate video or video not working, click here, is we're only getting a 22% click-through to the text. But I feel good about having that there because that's 22% of people that possibly may have just left that weren't willing to watch the sales letter. And it's not really something that people seem to do or seem to test. So that's what we're doing. But Jonathan, without having the slides up, I went through the PDF that you had and went through the create a teaser ad and the market research and talked about what wins, and then talked about how important it is to find what the best offer is between multiples so that you can either promote that best affiliate product or create your own product with that approach so that when you go and roll out with paid advertising, you know that you've got a winner.
That's right. And God, thanks for covering. Guys, I'm really embarrassed. It's rare that my internet goes out, and I don't think it's happened on a webinar. Okay, so, well, I'm glad you walked them through. I'll just recap. Here was the teaser. Here was the emails that I sent. Here was the response from HyperTracker, and here was the actual sales response, which won. And so I do want to say that, normally I will not make a decision about what to, promote based on 9 sales. But out of 9 sales, 6 of them were for green DIY energy, or solar DIY is the ClickBank ID right there. And because I was so clearly finding the winner so quickly, that's what I decided to focus on. So, so let me just talk a little bit about this offer. This offer was the winner. I'm not saying it's the best offer on ClickBank. I'm not saying it's the best solar offer. I'm just saying that at the time I tested it with that teaser, with those 4 landing pages, that's exactly what I got. I got this thing being the winner. So if you're looking for an offer on ClickBank that just outpulls all the others, you probably need to do your own test. If you want to test those 4 that I did, then you can go ahead and you can know that Green DIY Energy is probably pulling more sales than other types of offers. And there's a couple things I want to say about this. And the first one is, I don't ever steal somebody's sales letter, and I don't ever steal somebody's product. But this offer, I'm sure, was taken from another offer, which was taken from another offer, and so on down the line. Somebody might have at one point written a real book, which was in a bookstore, and somebody read that, and they started making the ebooks. So once I know that this works, I know 4 different things. The first thing is I know that there's an offer out there that I can promote that will actually make money. I know that it's got some response, and that's really, really important. Number 2, I know that I can sell an ebook about this topic or an information product about this topic. I'm not trying to collect leads. I'm not trying to sell $20,000 solar panels or anything like that. I just wanted to see whether or not the information would sell. That is good in and of itself. The third thing I know is I know that this sales letter compels people to pull out their wallet. Would I steal this sales letter? No, I could probably do better. And maybe come up with a version or a variation that's my own that actually is at least this good. But this would be my starting point. And then the third thing is because I sell some, I can see what the refund is. So I can actually get the product, and I can say, when you sell this product to these people this way, here's what the refund rate is. And that's really instructive, because that's basically not only permission, but a plan to actually go into this niche on my own. And believe me, this is something that we're going to be hitting hard this summer, especially if gas prices stay up and, people's kind of, I won't say, America's reliance on foreign oil. That's really political. But I will say that America's obsession with saving money on energy is huge right now. I've often felt that, in the future when this stuff gets even more efficient and actually able to generate more electricity, that having solar panels in your backyard will be like a business opportunity. It'll be like you sell extra power to your neighbors and stuff like that. And so maybe that's a positioning that, I could take in this product. Anyway, it's important when you're testing offers, whether you're in the acai or weight loss or solar energy, or whether you're doing legal referral or lead gen, or no matter what you're doing, to test different variations of an offer to just see where the selling power is. That's something that's been really, really important for us, and it's really led to a lot of our success. A lot of the stuff that we found almost entirely by accident, by taking a bunch of different products. By the way, when I looked at these offers, I probably would have guessed that this one would have converted the least. I had no idea that it would have converted, like 6 times, 600% better than any other offer.
Yeah. And that's
why the testing.
Yeah, and really the main point of testing, because I'm as guilty of that as anybody by just looking at 3 offers and going, oh, this one will outpull those 2. Yeah, definitely. You just can't tell. That's why you got to test.
No, it's so funny when people show me an offer and they'll say, hey, which one wins? Which one wins? And I'm like, I don't know. Test them. Really, I don't know. And they're like, well, you're smart. You've run these offers before. And I said, yes. And I've been surprised enough times, shocked and dismayed at the results, to know that we have to test. And so, sometimes the greatest wisdom and the greatest intelligence that you have is just the intelligence to know that you need to do the work before you can actually find out what the truth is. My mom, I used to do a little real estate investing, and my mom used to say that I was a genius, and I'm not. But all mothers say that, right? But I said, listen, I'm not a genius with real estate, Mom, but if I am smart about anything, it's knowing that I need to get up at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday and go out and look at a bunch of houses where everybody else goes out to brunch. And so, sometimes the biggest intelligence that you can have is the intelligence to know that you just need to do the busy work in order to find out what the facts and what the truth is. And by the way, if you are looking at it for a niche, this is a great freaking niche. Unbelievable right now. This stuff is selling really, really well all over the internet. I would say solar offers are, and green offers are hot. It's summer. It's hot right now. People have the air conditioning on, and I think it's definitely something. If you were saying, I don't know what to do, I would say this is probably a pretty good niche if you have an interest in it. So now what I want to do is I want to take a look at some of the member questions that came in, and Tim and I are just going to kind of talk about them. I also want to encourage you guys, let's see on the questions, if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask them in the control panel that you have, either about what we're going to talk about, or you can throw in some questions of your own. So the first one is, and basically what I did is I took all of the questions that we got from the survey, people who had filled that out when they joined the advanced course, and what I did is I basically put them all together in a list, and then I went ahead and put, mixed and matched them up and combined the similar ones, and I just put them down here. And so we're going to cover those. Sometimes we'll go online, sometimes we'll just answer the questions. So again, if you have anything, short answer or a short question, we can go ahead and we can cover it in detail on this particular call. So the first question was, how do I find placements for my offers? I've had a lot of hit and miss, and it costs money to keep testing. What's a good strategy? Now, I thought that we might have gone over this before, but I wanted to make sure we answered it in full. And it really matters whether or not this is your offer or whether this is an affiliate offer. And the reason is because when you're looking for placements for a particular offer, if it's your offer, your motivation is going to be very different than if it's an affiliate offer. If it's an affiliate offer, you want to make money. I mean, you always want to make money, but that's really all you want and all you can do with an affiliate offer. If it's your offer, there's a lot more at play. You might have a sales funnel where you're willing to lose money on the front end. You might be trying to brand something. You might be looking for impressions. You might be selling advertising to someone, who on your site, so you want to get more people to your site so that more people can click off to your other offers. In other words, if it's your offer, there's a lot of different motivations for bringing traffic and buying advertising for your site. And so assuming this is your offer and this is something you're really invested in and you're not going to do this research and then tomorrow you're going to go off into the other thing, you really want to look at things like, number one, Google Ad Planner. You want to look at Alexa. You want to look at Compete. And you really want to look at the similar placements that your competitors are putting out there and really go upstream, and we're going to talk about what that means, to find higher quality media at lower prices. And when we talk about going upstream, we mean either, when we're talking about affiliate offers, we mean going to the actual guy that owns the offer so that you don't have to cut the CPA network in. And when we talk about buying traffic, we talk about go upstream to the actual site owner that puts the banner ad on his or her site that you buy the traffic from. And when you do that, you probably pay 1/3 to 1/2 for your advertising. And when you do it with an affiliate offer, you probably get between 20 and 50% more for the offer. So when you're having trouble and you're at a break-even place, just imagine getting your advertising for half price and getting 50% more on your monetization, and you can really see the goal of going upstream. Now, Christian talked about going upstream last week. He said if he's working with an affiliate network and there's an offer from True.com, well, he has no qualms picking up the phone and just talking to someone from True and saying, hey, can we run this offer directly with you? And you pay us, without having to go through the CPA network. And in many cases, that works for him. Well, the same is true with sites. We talked about on our very first call this little software. It's a Firefox browser or a plugin called Ghostly. And what it does is when you go to a website, it immediately tells you all the people that have cookies and beacons and advertising network stuff on that site. And in many cases, I think there was one page that we went to, the Wall Street Journal, where there were at least 5 different ways to buy advertising on that site. There's probably more. You can go direct, you can go through Google, you can go through DoubleClick, you can go through AdSonar, you can go through Pulse 360, you can go through, there was some other like AdBright or something like that. That is great, but what you want to do is you want to go direct if you possibly can, and you want to negotiate your own deals. And so what we've done is when we are really looking for a place to run an offer, we'll surf around at the most likely logical places. If we're selling a stock market investing offer, we're going to be looking for stock market investing sites. We're going to be looking for the business sections of major publications like wallstreetjournal.com/stocks or cnbc.com/stock quotes or whatever the web page is that we're actually wanting to target. And so we will, if we can do a network buy and just do those specific sites, like with AdBright, we'll do that. If we still have a Google account, we do, but some of you guys don't. So if you don't have your Google account, you just pick up the phone and you call the sites directly. If you're working with a network, you call your ad reps and you just tell them, I'm ready to spend more money with you, but I need performance goals met. before I actually can do that. If it is an affiliate offer, you're going to ask yourself whether or not this is something you really want to promote and why. For example, is this something that you have a squeeze page on, that you're getting your list for free and you have your own launch coming down the line? Is this a niche that you want to be a master in, that you're going to create your own lead gen thing? Is this something that really, really interests you, that is fun and exciting? Because if it's not, I would say just don't waste your time on it. If you have an offer that's a CPA offer, it's not really your offer. It's just some random network offer that could go away tomorrow, and it could have the payout cut, and you have to deal with scrubs and fraud and all the other nonsense. But if it's something that you really, really want to promote, and you've got a bigger plan for it, call your CPA affiliate network. Just ask them what other people in your space are doing to get traffic. I can't give the name of the guy, but a very well-known CPV network. I think I might have mentioned this before. I don't think I mentioned the name, though. A very well-known CPV network. I was promoting some weight loss stuff a while back, and I told them that I was having trouble with conversions, and they actually sent me a list of all the top targets for weight loss that they have internally in their network. Now, this is not something that I could have gone to AF Portal and gotten. These are the top weight loss sites in the particular CPV network's network. So it was real easy. I just loaded that stuff in, and bang, I started to not only get a bunch of traffic and make a bunch of sales, but I also started spending a lot of money with that network. So they're glad to do it. You can also call them and you can say, hey, I found some places to promote it, but I just need a little bump in the pay. And so generally that is what we do. And how do we find placements? We go upstream. We ask our affiliate managers. If it is your own offer, you can even call the affiliate network and say, let's say it's an insurance offer, and say, do you guys ever do any insurance offers? And they'll say, sure. And say, do you have any tips on promoting these insurance offers? I've been having some trouble. I've been doing X, Y, and Z. Do you have any suggestions? And you're going to get a lot of good feedback from people in the business. So, you're not alone in this particular business. There are a lot of people who, they do want to sell you stuff. They do want you to spend money, but they will be very friendly to you, especially if they think that you're a good person to deal with.
Hey, Jonathan, we've got a couple of related questions while we're on the topic.
Yes, sir.
The first one is from Tony. He says, you've mentioned knowing at least one of the variables, either the offer or the network. What does one do if he doesn't know the offer and doesn't know the network? Is there a method of testing under those circumstances? And the final thing you said, which is if it's something you want to test where you can actually speak with a live rep, they can, of course, can give you some firsthand information. That's one way. What would you expand on that in addition to, sometimes you can look at ClickBank and look at Gravity and look at, well, clearly there's sales being made, but sometimes that can be a little bit misleading. But what would your response be to that as far as how to start when you don't really have a constant?
Well, you have to have a constant, so you're just going to have to make a decision and make mistakes until you find. I get where you're coming from. It's like, okay, I just want to make money. I don't have an offer. I think that's what you're saying. I don't have an offer. I don't know where to run it. You're going to have to make a decision and say, well, what the heck am I interested in? I got to be interested in something. Let's join a CPA network or go to ClickBank and let's find something that I think I can sell, something that I am interested in. That, a good place to start would be, what are your existing assets now, today? So do you have a bunch of domains in a particular niche? Do you have a list in a particular niche? Do you have any experience in any particular niche? I would start with an offer, because an offer will drive you, to the offer comes first. We start with an offer, we start with something that we want to promote, and then we look for places and ways to promote it.
And
does that make sense?
Well, I was just going to add to that. It comes around kind of full circle to one of the slides a little while back, which is the whole concept of having the generic offer, the generic pitch, the generic squeeze page. Because if you set up a generic squeeze page that just makes a claim, hey, you can save money on your electricity or lose weight or make money or whatever, and you get people to opt in, then you can use that as a gauge, and wherever you advertise it, you can gauge the response of how much it costs per person to opt in. And then once they're on your list, then you experiment sending those people by email recommendations and follow-ups about getting them to buy something. So really using that kind of generic squeeze page, you can use that to make that the constant, and that would probably be a really good solution.
Right. And listen, maybe Tony, maybe you're just waiting for someone to tell you something. And if you're waiting for that, I'll go ahead and go out on a limb here. I happen to like the solar niche. I think it's a good niche. I would probably start with, there are three things that I would start with. I would go to a network like ewanetwork.com or clickbooth.com, and I would start with lead gen or soft offers. These are offers that pay you on a per lead basis. You don't have to sell anything. The users don't have to have a credit card. They're usually signing up for a lead gen program. They're looking for more information, or maybe they want to talk to a salesman about new windows or a solar panels or a roof or something for their business. So I would look for a soft offer that doesn't require a credit card, that's lead gen, and I would look for something that's in a niche that you like and that's growing and expanding. And then I would probably start with CPV and or email. And we're actually going to talk about the kind of rollout formula for media in another question in a few minutes. But you start with an offer, and then you look for the traffic sources. And CPV or email is probably going to be your best place. Let's see. Lots of domains, expert in Green and cloud. Okay, I got it here. And wrote 16 books on computer. So I really like Green, man. I mean, Green is cool. It seems like it's something that's really interesting. But you need to get beyond what you do and look at what people are buying. So Green IT is great, but that's something that you're going to be more of a consultant with. Take a look at those ClickBank offers, and that is a place to start in terms of, hey, man, here's an ebook, which we didn't even think sell, right? I mean, who sells ebooks nowadays? Well, here's an ebook, and I guarantee you those guys are making $5,000 or $10,000 probably a day selling that stuff. So that's kind of a starting point.
And a second question from Mark. He says, I sell a real product printing to small businesses. How do I get affiliates? Do I have to come out with a stronger offer than everyone else to attract general affiliates, or should I look for specific people who sell to the same market, like web hosting or credit card processing? And I got a couple thoughts on that. I mean, one, I have a friend of mine who basically is a car dealer, but he doesn't have a dealership, so he's sort of like a private car dealer, and so he makes the commission, but he doesn't have to keep the inventory, and he just provides really good customer service and just gets the car that people want. And he built up his entire business over the last 5 years, and he's doing really well just by being involved in 5 sort of chamber of commerce type groups, where these different, basically the whole point of it is to get together, and they only allow one type of business in per niche, and then they just sort of recommend each other. And he single-handedly built up his business that way. And specifically related to printing, I know that like for instance Dan Kennedy's printer, he just basically just endorses them, and it's not based on cost or anything like lowball, but it's based on quality and guarantee on time, and that, hey, this is my guy and he does big jobs, and you can trust him. Because really with printing, along with a lot of other businesses, the margins can be really tight, and so trying to give out just scary big commissions can really just eat away. So coming up with some key tie-ins to be able to really get endorsements and cross recommendations, I would think would be the way to go.
Yeah, I like that too, especially with local folks. But but on the other hand, knowing Mark and knowing what he's really asking, so the question is, how do I make the offer stronger? And there's 2 ways to do it, and one is hard and one is easy. And the hard way is literally just make it stronger, write it better, come up with more endorsements, come up with more testimonials, come up with more bonuses, come up with more information, come up with more credibility, have a better deal. But the other way is to kind of break the offer down into 4 or 5 different parts. Well, there's the part where someone sees a banner ad on a page, and then there's the part where someone signs up for something. Maybe it's an initial printing job. And then there's the part where, you actually do the printing and they come back and they either like it or they don't like it. And then there's the part where they become a repeat customer. So the real key is, if you're going to be solid on that last part, if you can really keep your customers, is to come up with some sort of formula in that part 2, where they actually go to the place on the website and fill out the form and either buy their first little mini product, or they do whatever they do to engage themselves with you. They either sign up for a white paper, or they sign up for something, a coupon, or maybe they do like what Vistaprint does, where it's just so cheap to do the startup that they just sign up for business cards or something like that are so inexpensive. Well, you really need to look at that as being a loss leader type of situation. And the easy way to make the offer more attractive to affiliates is just to pay more on the front end. So you don't have to change anything. If you're paying $20 or 15%, you change it to $30 or $40 or $50. In other words, there's some sort of bounty, kind of like the web hosting business, where, why will they pay you $125 commission for someone that pays $6.95 a month? Because once somebody goes through that process, they feel pretty comfortable that they're not going to be just charging $6.95 a month. They're going to get some domain, and they're going to get some hosting, and they're going to get some other SQL databases or whatever it is that they're selling. They know that if they can get someone into the process and into the system, that the system is strong enough that they can afford to pay a stronger commission on the front end. And a lot of times an affiliate will never even look at your offer. He won't say, oh, well, this is a really easy offer that pays $15 for someone to opt in and get the white paper. But here's someone who pays $40 and they actually have to make a purchase. An affiliate won't ever go to that process. He'll just say, oh, this is a $40 offer and this is a $15 offer, and he'll promote the $40 offer. So be the $50 offer, but do it in such a way that it only makes sense for you, either on the back end or the person has to actually buy something. I think that's probably the best way to take that particular approach with something like printing or recurring services, because your money is going to come not from the first sale or even the second sale. It's going to come from sales down the line and then those referrals. Okay, good. We're getting some questions. Nice. Okay. Okay, it's just the same one. I got it. Okay, let's talk about tracking. Someone wanted to know how they track media buys and self-serve campaigns. In fact, this was like the #1 question we got, if you can believe it. How do I set a pixel and how do I track media buys and self-serve campaigns? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at pixel setting. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about what you're trying to track. So as always, it really depends on whether this is your own site or some sort of affiliate offer. And that's because you're going to have a different protocol for tracking something that's an affiliate. You also have other ways to track that. So the first thing I would say is go and review the updated tracking module in the Traffic Evolution course. We just redid it about 6 months ago, and it's pretty solid and pretty good. We usually double track or even triple track using a pixel placement for the ad source, and we'll also use the sub-ID if it's an affiliate offer in the CPA network. And don't worry, I'll talk about that in just a sec. For my own offers, I usually build a link. Like if you're using One Shopping Cart, or if you're using HyperTracker, or if you're using Infusionsoft, or if you're using Nanocast, or any shopping cart allows you to build a tracking link and to even do split tests in there. And a lot of that stuff will track all the way, especially if it's Infusion or Nanocast or One Shopping Cart. Those are transactional trackers, so there's no way around that. If it's processed by One Shopping Cart, it's going to track it if it's a One Shopping Cart link. So you get really almost bulletproof tracking with that stuff. Then there's systems like Prosper 202. It's a great system, but it is a hassle to set up. So what we do is what Christian does. And we'll usually start, although we probably are a little bit more organized than he is, we'll usually start just by doing sub-ID tracking. So let's say you go to ClickBooth, right, or EWA. And let's just go online there and take a look. So when you go into an offer like a CPA network, and this is the EWA private network, it is one of my favorites, and you'll go in and you'll actually have some offers, and let's go into my offers here. So when you go into these offers right here, you can see, let's just take this one. Here's a credit report, right? This is a PPV allowed. You'll see right here, this is what the page looks like, and it just says here's what the offer is, and here's what's allowed, and here's all the information about it, and here's how much you get for it, and here's when it expires, and all that sort of stuff. Here's the campaign ID. If you have any questions, refer to that campaign ID. But what's really cool is that most all these companies use a specific system that allows you to do what we call sub-ID tracking. So let's go ahead and let's take this. And you can see this is the link right here. I'm going to go ahead and cut and paste this. And then I'm going to pull up, let's see, Text Wrangler. So this is my little text ad software. Okay. And now here's the link. This is the link. When you click on this link, it's going to take you over to this particular offer, right? In this case, it's a credit report offer. What you can do, this means SID, it means sub-ID, is you can put banner 1 right there. And when a click or a lead or a sale comes through in the statistics, you can see that it's going to come from this particular sub-ID. So when you log into your statistics, you can just go in and you can see that this is from banner 1. Other thing you can do is on certain networks like TrafficVance, they'll give you a little code to put into your tracking link that'll tell you what your keyword is. It looks something like this. This isn't exactly it, so don't quote me. Looks something like that, and you'll get this from your network. So when I was promoting this offer with PPV, I would promote this particular link, and then I put this particular keyword afterwards, or whatever the code was for TrafficVance. I ran this offer on TrafficVance, and then every time I got a sale or a lead, I could see which keyword actually generated that lead, so I could go back and turn off the other keywords that I was spending money on and go in and spend more money on the keywords that were actually converting. So you've got all this great kind of internal tracking that you have available to you with the CPA networks. And you also have the ability to set a pixel. So let's go ahead and talk about pixel setting. What we always do is, first of all, what's a pixel? You know, people, I should probably answer that, because I bet there's somebody on this call, and they're like, oh, yeah, I set pixels all the time. Not really sure what they are. I don't really know why I do it, but I was told I should do it. So all a pixel is a little piece of tracking code. That's all it is. And we call it a pixel because it's usually an image. And it's an image that's 1 by 1 pixel, which is really tiny little pixel, tiny little image. And we say we pixel something because the way that the tracking is done is through this little image tag, or pixel code, or tracking code. We all call that stuff those words. We use those phrases to describe pixels and tracking codes. So what we do is when we set a pixel is we're setting the tracking code on our thank you page to find out which ad generated the sale. Well, let's go ahead and walk through it so you guys are clear. Now in HyperTracker, this is my HyperTracker screen, there's a little thing up at the top here called integration, and that's what you're going to click on in order to get your tracking code. So you're going to you're going to click on this particular deal right here, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to give you this tracking code, right? And then this tracking code is what you put on your thank you page. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. I filled this out. This is for one of our products that we sell in the health niche. It's for our eczema psoriasis treatment. It's a sale. We're calling the product value of $45. When we go ahead and we click this button right here, the HTML code, this comes out, and then this is actually our pixel code. Now there's two different kinds of pixel codes here, and I think they do it just to confuse us. But I usually use this one right here. I use the image pixel. You can also use a JavaScript pixel. In the old days, people had their images turned off, so we'd use JavaScript. Now I think just as many people have JavaScript turned off, so we revert back to the image. And here's what we do. We are setting up a tracking campaign. We go here. We fill out our form right here. We get our little pixel code right here. We go to our thank you page. This is the thank you page that someone will go to. After they buy the product, they're going to be taken to this thank you page. Thank you for ordering the product. You'll receive your confirmation, all that sort of good stuff. But if you look at the source code, you can see right here we've got our HyperTracker eczema sales. So when we use HyperTracker to track a link, and then that person goes through the process and hits this thank you page, they're really opening up all this code, and this code activates the HyperTracker and tells us that a sale was made, and it was made from this ad campaign using this keyword or using this banner or using this particular type of ad. By the way, when you get to thank you pages, you might want to stop for a minute next time you get to a thank you page or an upsell page and just go to the source code and take a look at what they're doing. There's a lot of information under the hood when you get to a lot of these sites. So like, for example, you can see I've got an AdBright tracker here. I've got Facebook conversion tracking. So if you are smart, and you guys are all pretty smart, and you were my competitor and you went through this, you'd be like, he's tracking all this stuff with a HyperTracker. Oh, he's tracking AdBright. I bet he's using AdBright to promote this. Oh, he's using Facebook to promote this. Oh, he's using Advertise.com to promote this. And how would you know this? You'd know this because when you look at the source code of the thank you page, you see all this other code on there. And that'll really tell you and give you an idea, wow, what this guy's doing is this guy's got a bunch of ads out there, and I can kind of spy on him. This is a really, really important thing for people who are doing competitive intelligence. And I absolutely recommend that you not only buy your competitors' products, you very carefully look at what they're doing, what thank you pages they're using, where they're setting remarketing cookies, where they're deleting remarketing cookies, and really looking at their whole process. So there's another kind of tracking code as well, and that is the tracking code we use as an affiliate, right? So when we get an affiliate offer, the example I've got here is in ClickBooth, right? Let's say I want to run this offer. It's the Financial Strength Zone offer. It pays $11 a lead. I've just found it on ClickBooth. I'm thinking it's a pretty good campaign. I'm going to run it on TrafficVance, which is like one of my very favorite places to buy traffic. I set up my campaign on TrafficVance, and then I get that little pixel right here. I'll set it up, I'll get that pixel, I'll cut it, I'll paste it, I'll go right over here to my ClickBooth account. I'll click right here to click here to upload affiliate third-party pixel. By the way, if I were doing this in EWA, I would go right here. If I was promoting the credit report offer, I'd edit the pixel right in there, but in this case, the example has to do with ClickBooth. So I go grab the offer from ClickBooth, I set up the campaign in whatever network I want, I grab this bit of code. All networks will give you this code. Every single network that I work with does pixel tracking. Every single one of them will give you a little pixel, and then you can go ahead and you can load that pixel in. You load it right here into the ClickBooth thing, pixel input right here. And then when someone buys that product and you go look at your stats, you can see which ad generated the click. And in this case, I can go up to, I can set it up both on ClickBooth, and I can also go into the CPV account, TrafficVance, and I can see which keyword actually generated it. So it's a really highly detailed level of tracking, but it's not much more complicated than either adding the pixel to your CPA network account or to your thank you page. It's really, really simple. Tim, do you have anything to add on that? I wonder if I might have complicated it more than I needed to.
No, you know, it is kind of funny that it is hard to talk about certain things without sort of you know, possibly getting complicated. But no, I mean, it's really quite straight ahead, and I think you covered it.
It's one of those things that, gosh, if you guys get, you know, if you don't understand it, just say, I'm going to spend an hour figuring out pixels. And then go ahead and spend an hour. Go to Google, go to pixel tracking, go to understanding pixel tracking. Read what you can. I bet you'll get it in 5 or 10 minutes. It's just a code that is connected to your traffic source so that when a conversion happens, you can see which traffic source generated which particular sale or opt-in. It's really, really powerful. Okay, a couple people asked this question too, which is, I need a solid landing page strategy. When should I use a lander and when should I direct link? Well, especially after Christian's presentation last week, you guys probably wonder why you'd ever want to do anything but direct link. But there are some really good places and some really good reasons to use landing pages. And, you know, my rule of thumb is this. When I'm promoting something that's branded, in other words, if I'm promoting Match.com, or if I'm promoting an as seen on TV offer, or if I'm promoting a life insurance offer from, you know, Unum Life Insurance or Prudential Life Insurance. These are all big companies that people have heard of. I don't particularly need to set the frame of reference. If I have my teaser ad out there, whether it's a banner or a CPV page or an email piece, people are going to look at it and they're either going to say, I want Prudential Life Insurance, or I don't. You know, they're not going to say, well, I don't really know what life insurance is and I never heard of this Prudential. I mean, if they have, they probably aren't really a prospect for insurance. But generally, if it's a branded product that people have heard of, I have no problems direct linking. I've also changed my mind a little bit on direct linking, talking to Christian in the last week, and also talking to a few other super affiliates. And, you know, Christian's comment was, actually it wasn't Christian, it was somebody else I was talking to. They said it really depends on the clarity of the offer. You know, is this an offer that requires a lot of explanation? Do you need to do a landing page in order to warm up the prospect? Are you going to make your lander a testimonial or some sort of incredible true story about this particular product or service? Or is it so clear that you can send someone straight from a banner or teaser ad to the page and they'll know enough to actually buy? So where there's a frame of reference required, I will always use a lander. And I will also use a lander, as that's a squeeze page, whenever I want to do some sort of list building or list collection. Now, truthfully, I usually just direct link at the very beginning and see whether or not there's conversion, because I don't want to do a squeeze page and then there's no conversion, and I don't know if it was the interruption of the squeeze page or the offer itself. So I'll send some traffic in. If it's a good solid offer, I'll see if it works. But I will usually start to convert that offer. Like after I didn't talk, I think it was cut off on the Green DIY Energy offer. I can go back to that offer now and I can make a squeeze page for that offer. Now that I know that offer converts, I can come up with a lander that collects data. And I can go back and I can sell these people a lot of different stuff, including the book that I want to write or that I'm going to create. So I'll usually come up with a squeeze page. The other opportunity for a lander is probably best laid out by howlifeworks.com or ARA Lifestyle. I used to write articles that were like blog posts that were kind of, they're kind of testimonials, if you will, or the incredible true story about this product. I really think people can sense the authenticity or inauthenticity of that these days. And now what I'll do is I'll write more of an article if I'm going to do that kind of thing, not a blog post. I used to use a lot of blog posts for my landers. I'd write a blog post under, an assumed name about how great this product or service was, and then I just link straight to that. Now I really like to come into, an offer and start promoting it where if I am going to use a lander, I'm going to use like the incredible true story, like the article type of approach like they do in How Life Works. And then I also like that. Another great reason to use a lander is because you can do all sorts of other like testing. You can set remarketing cookies. You can go in and you can start checking whether people are engaged with your offer. You look at your bounce rate, how long they stay on the page, whether they click through, all that sort of stuff. So I always direct link at first, and I will always try to transition into a lander. I hope that makes sense. Tim, you got to have, you've done so much media. What do you feel about that? Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, the only thing I wanted to mention as far as Christian's really aggressive strategy that he uses where he never uses a landing page is he's like crazy pounding the pavement as far as finding. He doesn't even promote offers after the first 30 days because that's when everybody else jumps in. So he's really attacking stuff right in the beginning, and I think the vast majority of people are nowhere near his situation. So he basically scoops up the cream of the crop by pounding the pavement better than most people, and he basically bails when it's time to start using a landing page. But I do completely agree. Like there are sometimes certain offers where, or sometimes it's just a form to fill out where it's like, well, if you want this, you're going to fill out this form, in which case it really is direct. But a lot of times, like you said, certain offers, maybe they don't really put everything in context. And my assumption always is I always assume that the easy solution is not going to work too well. So it's always easier to direct link. So my assumption is, well, if it was that easy, wouldn't everybody just be doing it and I'd be competing with everybody for clicks and the money would be gone? So I always assume that it's going to be harder than easier. And so my assumption is always that creating a really good lander is going to be the way to go as a default as far as starting to test something.
That only speaks to the fact that only if the lander is really not good from the company. Ironically, some of the best affiliate networks and some of the greatest companies that are making the most money, they don't always give their affiliates the very best landing pages. So they sometimes save them for their own in-house advertising. So, or they just don't get around to it. They're testing stuff and they just haven't gotten around to changing their CPA network landers. So, I start with one, I move to the other. That's right. By the time it's time to move over, Christian's usually out of the offer. I definitely feel like there's a lot more opportunity after 30 days. I'll take an offer. I'm not a first mover like Christian. I'll run it between, the 1 month and the 1 year period. And I still think some niches like that solar, they have a lot more juice left in them because they just haven't really been promoted. You know, you've got some affiliates writing articles or e-zine stuff or running a little AdSense, but those offers have not been really run on the big, by and large, the big media networks or anything like that. Okay, how can I easily and cheaply get started with remarketing? If you do not have the remarketing course that we just released, just email me, jm@cyberwavemedia.com, and I will go ahead. It's only good for people who are on this particular call. If you're listening to this after the fact, you know, you have to buy it. But people on the call can go ahead and get that if you're an advanced course member. So go ahead and just send me an email and we'll send you the newest Remarketing Secrets course. Basically what we recommend is AdBuyer and or Google or both. Right now we're running a remarketing test on, I got about 5 of them running right now. I got a couple on Google and I got probably 4 on AdBuyer. Really easy to set up, and as you guys know, if you've been to the Remarketing Secrets video and you didn't buy it, well, you're going to see all these awesome banner ads everywhere you go for this particular course that we have. So I would say we just put that out, and that's probably the most extensive training. It's probably about 2 or 3 hours long, but it's well worth it. Gives you a lot of great ideas, including mixing that with CPV so that you can do kind of a behavioral. So if you're promoting a weight loss product, Tim came up with it, you can actually target people who go to Jenny Craig and WeightWatchers.com. You're going to need a couple of banner sets. You're going to need a landing page with a special or an alternative offer. We don't like to drive it back into the same page. And you're going to want to be able to pixel your sales letter and your thank you page. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. I think most of you guys know how to do this, but if you don't, check out that course. And also, even if you have seen the old course, it's been greatly expanded since it came out originally last year. So this was another one that we got. A lot of people were asking this question. It's almost like, how long will it take to become proficient enough with paid media to start generating consistent profits using CPA offers with contextual ads and direct linking? In other words, what's the shortest amount of time it will take me to start making money with no skills and a little bit of cash? And, you know, listen, I think if you're really good at choosing offers and you're really good at buying media and you're really good at, you know, writing teaser ads, I think you're going to see results right away. This was this exact question that someone asked, so I want to tweak the question a little bit and kind of change the way you're looking at this before I go into the second part here. I think CPA offers are really, really great place to start because you can get all these soft offers. In other words, lead gen offers that pay $10 or $15 for someone filling out a form. But you know, they may or may not be the right offer for you. I think you're going to need to test a couple of variations. Like let's say you decide that you want to be in insurance or EDU offers, because there's a lot of EDU offers. They pay a lot of money. There's a ton of variations. I mean, there's ones where someone can sign up and you get $50, or where someone can actually just give their name and email and, you know, they get, I think you get like $4 or $5. There's everything in between. We're just looking at, say, EDU offers or online education offers. So assuming that that's where you want to be and that you're like, oh, I think I'm going to promote these EDU offers. I like them. They have a good payout. A lot of people are looking for jobs. A lot of people are looking for more education. A lot of people are looking for more skills. So it's a good time to promote these things. All those things are true, by the way. It is a good time to promote online education offers. It's still going to be important that you test different variations of those offers in different ways from different networks. So let me give you an example. I would probably start with you know, TrafficVance or one of the CPV companies, Lead Impact or probably Add-On or maybe TrafficVance would be a good place to start. And I do the rotation where I would rotate 4 or 5 different offers. So I target all my EDU sites that are all direct, and then what I would do is I would get a few different variations of the offer. I would get probably, there's probably 2 or 3 line offers that pay $4, like, yeah, I'm interested in online education, here's my name, here's my email, here's my phone number. You know, probably something like that pays $4 or $5. And then there are other ones where, you know, you have to fill out like a big long application, you know, but you might get, like I said, as the affiliate, you might get $40 or $50 for that. If someone says, here's where I went to school, and here's what I want to study, and here's how much money I have to have, and here's how much, you know, I want to earn, and here's how I'm going to pay for it, and here's my financial, you know, situation. When you get more detailed, so you can have the same offer, and it's like 4 or 5 different ways. There's a 2 or 3 field version of it. There's maybe a 4 or 5 field version of it that maybe pays $10. There's like a 10 field version that pays $20, and maybe there's a big, long, extensive version of it. I would take the same traffic sources, and all I would do is just rotate those and see where it is. A lot of times as affiliates, we think, oh, I want to promote the $50 thing. But let me tell you, if the $50 thing is 1/100th as responsive as the $5 thing, then you're much better off promoting the $5 thing, right? It's much, much better for you to test and know the truth about where the monetization is, because that'll help you in the future. Like if you test 4 different variations of an EDU offer, again, let's just say you want to be in that space, and you find, wow, those EDU offers are great, and this $5 version is just crushing it. You know, maybe what I can do is I can call a network and I can get that raised to $7 or $8. Well, now you are wiping the floor with everybody else promoting the $40 or $50 version. You're promoting the cheap version, but you're making 10 or 20 or 30 times more money, and you just got an increase in your bounty. So, you know, that's really where I would say your best opportunities for direct linking are, and that is to pick a niche, to use a rotation script, and to start using like CPV, because that's really where you're going to get a lot of juice and a lot of targeted traffic. Now again, and I know I've said this before, but if you're close to profitability, you pick up the phone and you just say, hey, is there some way you can get me more cheaper traffic? Because I'd love to spend more money with you. And, you know, they want you to spend more money, and you want to spend more money because you want the ROI. A lot of this stuff has to do with just picking up the phone and staying close to the folks who are actually controlling the offer. They're throttling it on their end, and they decide how many leads go where and how much of a payout the affiliates get. That's really the key, is if you're close to profitability, see if you can get some sort of increase, or, you know, get the scrub removed or something. You know, one thing that we did that was kind of cool a while back, and this was a private offer that we had with somebody, is we were their affiliate, we were getting $5, and we asked them if we could go up to 7, and so we actually asked for 10, and they gave us 7, and it was like about a 5 or 6 field form. But there was something in there, I think it was like a zip code or something, and I said, do you guys really need zip? And he said, no. I said, why are you asking it? He says, I don't know. He says, it was just in the form, the program around it. I said, would you mind taking that off? And he said, sure. So he took it off, and then, you know, we got a little bump. Not huge, 5%, 10%, but the form didn't look quite so scary and quite so difficult to fill out. And so just by making that little change and getting that payout increase, we turned this offer that was marginal at best into something that generated like almost $60,000 for us, which is pretty darn cool. So really, how long will it take? It could happen quickly. The question is, have you chosen something that you're interested in? Is there something that you know you want to do, that you're a niche that you're really ready to work and make a commitment to? That's really where the profits are going to come. I loved this question because years ago we came out with this thing called the Internet Marketing Rollout, and people Loved it. It was basically you start with a classified ad and then you go to a Google ad, and it was kind of our pre-media rollout thing. And I should probably come up with a rollout formula for media, more formalized. But in the meantime, here's what I did find, and here's what I did create. So a lot of times, like I said, it depends on whether you own the offer, but my personal media formula rollout goes something like this. Email. I will start always with email because I have I have a big list, email, and then I will move to CPV, and I usually do this at the same time. So let's say I see an offer and I think it's hot. I will go to my computer right then and there. If it's in my niche, I've already got a generic campaign. I'll set up the landing page, direct link it on CPV. I'll write a little quick teaser ad. I'll send it out to 50,000 people, and I will just see what happens. And if nothing happens and I don't get any juice and I don't get any love and I don't make any sales and I don't make any cash, I make sure that everything was set up right. I test all my links and I go through and I put through a test order. And then if there's some sort of technical problem, I'll probably do it again. I'll check and see. If there's no technical problem, that's where I usually just walk. But if I do see that there's some juice and some life in it, I will now go back and I will set up a text ad campaign. And I'll usually do text ads and banners right at the same time. And then I'll come back, and then the last thing I'll do is contextuals like intext.net or some of the contextual ad providers, even to the point where AdBright has text ads, but they're not really targeted. They're targeted on a contextual basis. I usually won't start with those. I'll start with text ads, not on Google, but on advertise.com or one of the other networks that targets based on actual, what a page is about. And the key initially is not about making a profit. It's just knowing what I'll need to do to make a profit. Because in the beginning of every campaign, it's very rare you're going to run a campaign and you're going to make money. Most every time you're going to run a campaign, you're going to get some sales, you're going to spend some money, and the amount of money that you make is going to be less than the amount of money that you spent. And you're going to, and so the key is like, did anybody buy this? Is there any interest in this at all? If I spend $100 in ads and I make $75 in commissions, I don't consider that I lost $25. What I consider is that I spent $25 to find out what the conversion rate of that offer is. And that's worth something to me because now I can decide whether or not there's any juice or life in this offer. And I can go back and I can renegotiate and I can start playing around with the offer and I can figure out how to go upstream to get better traffic and go upstream on the offer side if it's not an offer that I own and try to make some more cash that way. And that's really the process that I use. I always start with email and CPV. In the past I used to come up with text ads or maybe I'd try some AdBright ads, but it's really all about email, CPV, or CPV and email if I didn't have my own general interest list. And with email I usually try something like Archemax. Okay, what networks are proven to convert? So pretty much all the networks we talk about are proven to convert. I mean, none of the networks we recommend have fraud or fake clicks or really any of that other stuff. The real question you got to ask yourself is, what can you afford to spend to acquire a customer? Now, if it's an affiliate offer, there's only one answer, and that is something less than my commission. But the reason that we recommend you move beyond affiliate offers is because there's so many other opportunities to make money after the fact, after somebody actually goes through your process, where you won't have that opportunity as an affiliate. If you're spending $20 to get an insurance lead that pays you $30, you're making $10 per lead, and that's all you'll ever make. And you might even make less down the line. You'll never make more. You'll never make less. You're direct linking, you're not squeezing, you're not capturing any data. You might be doing some remarketing, but you're not really doing anything other than trading $20 bills for $30 payouts. It's not a bad way to make money. It's not a bad way to run a business, but it's not a particularly great long-term solution. So when you have your own product, the real key, and this is what Mark's question that I just answered for him, which is knowing that most ad systems are embedded and that there's transparency throughout the system, and eventually there'll always be transparency. Eventually all the printers are going to find out all the places to advertise on the whole internet, and then it's going to come down to three things. Who's got the best offer, who can afford to pay the most for the front end, and who's got the strongest back end. And if you're looking for affiliates, you pay the highest bounty to get the customers. If it's your printing company and it's your business, you're bringing people in, it all has to do with back-end monetization. It has to do with upsells, with downsells, with referrals. It has to do with continuity. It has to do with back-end marketing. It has to do with all the different aspects of your monetization. Because we are at that place now. You know, almost nobody, it's happened a few times, but almost nobody has ever come to me and said, I have something completely new that I invented that you've never seen before in the whole history of the internet, and I want to sell it online. That has only happened like once in my life, maybe twice. And that's out of thousands and thousands of promotions. So in most cases, it's going to be a niche. There are going to be other people in it. There's going to be transparency. You're going to have to not look at what converts, because any of these networks can convert, but what can I afford to spend for a customer, and how am I going to be able to afford to spend more and still make money? And that's really a business process kind of question. You know, probably better given to someone like Rich Schefrin or someone like that. I can tell you from a marketing standpoint, it has to do with what we talked about before, upsells, downsells, and back end, and massive amounts of split testing, and modeling successful offers. But the key is not, you know, every network that's out there is proven to convert, and they can show you their conversion numbers for particular niches, and you know that they're making money because people are running ads with them again and again. So it's really about getting that that offer to the point where it's really so tight that it just, like, you know, converts like crazy. Tim, what do you got?
Well, again, you know, as far as being able to increase the value of every visitor and every click you get, that just keeps tying back into building your own list and using your own squeeze page. I mean, you and I both have our own list that we built up multiple years ago that we make money with every time we still use it. I mean, I actually can't believe that some of these lists that I've had for multiple years, I mean, that anybody even still looks at what gets sent out. But I mean, that's how you increase visitor value, and it doesn't matter if you're just an affiliate. You can still build up your list and promote different affiliate offers, and without that, you're just not going to be able to compete with somebody else who is doing that and increasing the visitor value by having continuing upsells and downsells and being able to continue to contact them by email and just squeeze more money out of every lead and every click that they get.
Right, and there's a simple way to answer to look at the process is find something you're interested in, start promoting it as an affiliate, come up with a landing page that's a squeeze page, start to squeeze the people in the media that you send out, model that offer and create your own version of it, go out and buy the media you bought as an affiliate for yourself as the vendor, and come up with upsells, downsells, back ends, continuity, one clicks, and every other aspect of increase. It's not about increasing your visitor value so much as it is your customer value over the course of the relationship period that you have with that particular individual or that particular business. Depends on what you're selling. Okay, this is a great question. I hope the guy that wrote this question or the person that wrote this question is on the call. How does someone with extensive experience successfully promoting client products and services very successfully transition to generating revenue as an affiliate with CPA and ClickBank offers quickly and profitably? Okay, don't do that. Just don't. And here's why. The thing is that if you have relationships with with clients, your biggest, best, highest use with that person is to be their affiliate manager or their super affiliate. Seriously. Now, if you wanted to be an affiliate network, for other people, I wouldn't even waste time with CB, with ClickBank. I'd probably start with just CPA, and maybe I'd run some ClickBank products, pardon me, but what I would way rather do is take a client that I've been consulting with and someone who I know what their process is and someone who I have direct access to their stats and someone who I can negotiate with a lot better than some affiliate management system. And I've taken so many of my customers and I've turned them into I'm being their affiliates because I can actually get the truth. There's total transparency. In many cases, I have access to all their stats and everything. And, I'm not just sending traffic in and getting a report back saying, here's how much money you made. I can actually see, oh, here's how many were duplicates. I worked with a client. I want to tell a story about a thing I did a while back. It was a lead gen program. And I was an affiliate for this particular company. I was their consultant, and they hired me, but I decided to do lead gen for them because I already knew them and I already knew their system, and I had complete transparency in their gig. Now, I had an offer that I sent to them it was a list that I rented, and I went ahead and we shot this offer out, and we got huge traffic from it. And we got huge signups. But I realized that probably 60 or 70% of the people on this particular list were I wasn't getting credit for. Now, if I had just rented the list and sent the offer in there as an affiliate through some network, I would have gotten a report back that showed this list didn't do very well. And I would have probably dismissed that list because it generated a bunch of clicks, it didn't generate a bunch of results, the actual final results of people who went through and did what we wanted them to do. But it did get a high click-through rate, and so my initial thought would have been, oh, there's probably fraud on this list, or I wouldn't have even known. I just wouldn't have screwed around with it. But because I know the client, because I actually got into the back end, and I said, oh my God, I said, we had a huge click-through rate and the conversion rate sucked on this thing. Well, the client said, oh, this particular list owner has run this offer before. 60% of the people that they sent over were already in our database. And I said, really? And they said, yeah. And I said, oh, so what that told me that was so fascinating, the first thing was, this is a pretty good list. And actually, it also taught me that I need to ask every list owner that I ever run with, have you ever run this offer before? Because your people might already be on this list. And it also taught me that the creative that we were getting was getting a huge opt-in rate, almost like 40%. Now, it showed up at 18% or 16% on the stats because I wasn't going to get credit for someone that was already in this particular program. But boy, if I hadn't known that, it would have just screwed me up. I would have dismissed this traffic source as a junky traffic source, which it wasn't. I would have dismissed the opt-in page as a bad opt-in page, which it wasn't. And I would have basically thought that, the whole campaign was screwy. But what I learned is that this was a pretty good offer, and I always need to check when I'm buying media, not when it's a CPA deal, but when I'm buying media, I always need to check, have you ever run this offer like this before, or maybe this exact same offer? Because that would have really given me a whole different opinion of being a CPA person. I was able to go back to the client and say, since I actually paid money out of my pocket for this, and there's so many dupes here, and it's probably going to lead to something, I lost money on that buy. Would you be willing to just make it up so that I don't lose money on the buy? And the client said, sure, of course. We've been working with you for over a year, Jonathan. We'd love to do it. We thank you for going ahead and spending money out of your pocket to try to promote us. So I got back all the money that I lost. Now, I imagine trying to go to a CPA network and say, well, I spent money on advertising and I didn't make my money back, so can you give me a refund or can you give me extra cash? That's why I'd much rather turn my customers into my kind of vendors and be an affiliate directly for them, especially if you have familiarity with the market. But again, if you are insistent upon doing this, I'd go back to the previous question that we answered with using CPV, rotating offers, and finding a niche that you're interested in. I love this question. I want to set it and forget it traffic source that doesn't require hours a day to acquire, or reciprocal promos like affiliates want. Where can I get this? Okay, so the more time you spend up front, the less time you'll have to spend along the way, and that's always going to be the truth. Just like how long does it take to set up a campaign with a network to do a media buy? Well, do you have your banner page already? Have you signed your insertion order? Because if you have, it only takes about 5 minutes. You pick up the phone, you say you want to do it, you tell them where the URL is of the creative, you have them send you the insertion order, you sign it, you fax it back to them. That's how long it takes to do an ad campaign. But if you don't have any of that stuff ready, then every time you have to go through and set up creative and all that other stuff. So in other words, it's that old preparing yourself for success or sharpening your axe before you go to cut down the tree. Now, if there is a low risk, low form of advertising that doesn't take a lot of money, it's got to be CPV. I have CPV campaigns that generate probably between 50 and 100 bucks a day. They're not really set it and forget it. I have to go in and check my bids, and every week I go in. But I would say CPV is probably your best bet using something like Lead Impact or Traffic Advance or Add-on Network or something like that, or Direct CPV or something like that. But I've never found anything that's truly set it and forget it except for affiliates. So if you've got your traffic down, your conversion down, and you've got your visitor value down, you're going to have a much easier time getting affiliates to promote this because they know they'll make money. Well, that's a set it and forget it kind of a thing. But I guess even that isn't really set it and forget it, because if we look at all the traffic that we got for, say, Traffic Evolution or one of the other offers that I did, take a more general interest offer that I did a couple of years ago. It was a ClickBank deal. Well, I had to spend a lot of time on the phone with affiliates and networks and getting people to run that offer. And I think I mentioned before, I never ran any banner ads myself for some of those ClickBank offers that I was running in the past. But I did make hundreds of banner ads because I had banner ad networks saying, hey, we want some more banners. So I actually did have to go do something. I didn't have to do the media buy, and I didn't have to pick the placement, but I did have to provide the creative for them. So I would say CPV and affiliates are probably your easiest, set it and forget it types of traffic. But, you're going to have to spend at least 20 minutes to an hour a day going over your campaigns just to look at your statistics. And frankly, nothing's more exciting to me than getting back from surfing or hiking or whatever and logging onto my screen and seeing all the statistics and then going on to my spends and saying, oh, I either made money or I didn't make money or whatever. So, it takes a little bit of time, but CPV and affiliates are probably your two big ones. Let's see if there's any questions. Are you watching that, Tim?
Yeah, we don't have another batch of questions since the last ones that we answered.
Okay. Let's see, where can I get good image ads creative? We have a guy called thedigitalbob.com who we keep on retainer. He's pretty good. I mean, he does almost all of our design work except for what Tim does on, say, Traffic Evolution and Remarketing Secrets and stuff. We also like crowdsourcing design sites like 99 Designs or Design Crowd. because you get a good variety of options. I've also had a lot of people tell me about $20 banners in the last few months. Armin Moran, a friend of ours back east, has a course on, I think it's on Google Image Ads, and $20 banners is his big, secret that he recommends to people. One of the things that we've done with 99 Designs let me explain what that is. You basically go and you say, I will pay $250 for, some banners, and I need a number of banners created. I'm looking for, you put your specifications up there. And then people actually will create like the first banner, and you'll get, 5, 10, 20, sometimes 50 people wanting to create a banner for you, and they will. They'll create it and they'll upload the first one so you can see it and you can choose which style you're actually most interested in. Well, at a certain point there's going to be a winner, and you're going to say, I'll give $250 to this guy to come up with these wonderful creative banners. But you can also go back to all the people who lost the auction, because you can only have one winner, right? And you can say to them, listen, you did a really good job on the banners. I liked yours. I didn't like them quite as much as the winner, but, I'll give you like $20 for the banner set, which you've already started, or $10 for the banner set, and you're not out anything, and maybe we can forge a relationship in the future. Now, at least in the past, you were allowed to do that, and I think it's still okay to do that on 99 Designs, where you contact the losers and say, hell, give me a banner set too. We had one guy that went out, and I think it was Mark Jenny or some guy who was doing a bunch of display ads. I think, he paid $250 for his first banner set from 99 Designs, but he got at least 20 other banner sets for paying no more than, I think $10 in some cases were already paid for a banner set. And it was kind of cool because he got all these banners in and loaded them into his ad server, and I believe that the banners that won in terms of click-through and conversion, they were not even the ones that he had chosen. Just like we don't know what's going to happen. You get a bunch of banners in, you load them up, man, you get some really, really good stuff there. Tim, you have anything to add on that?
Well, I've got a video in the advanced course Ning community talking about showing reworks of banners that I've done, and all the resources that we've listed there do really nice banners. The thing that you've got to not be shy on insisting is just that there be a very clickable link. I can't stand it when you see a banner that just looks like a billboard that doesn't say click here, and just have a reason for people to click. So that's your responsibility, is insisting that there be something, a reason to click, and something that actually is either a button that says click here or an underlined blue link that's clearly a hyperlink, because it's just going to drastically affect your click-through rate. But besides that, there's two strategies. One is to, if it's going to be on a certain site, try to get it so that it looks like it's part of the site, so that it doesn't really look like a banner, but it's actually maybe even being promoted in the site. And then secondly is to really stand out so that it's really interrupting people to get you to click. But main thing, just make it super clickable and give a reason to click. But besides that, there's lots of people that can make really great banners, but you just got to make sure that the message is right.
And let's just stress again, what makes a banner clickable? A button. A button on the banner that moves and says something like, click me, or find out, or learn more, or pick up your free copy. A button doesn't have to be just a little button. It can actually say something. And the other variation of that is a link, a blue link at the bottom of the banner. We did those banner ads on the Warrior Forum. We couldn't really tell what the click-through rate was because we couldn't track how many people are actually viewing them. But the rules that they have for banners there, they all have to be all text, and the only other color you can use than black is blue, underlined blue. And I have to say, you're going to get pretty high click-through banners if all you do is just take a benefit-oriented statement and turn it into a graphic, and it's blue and underlined. That's probably better than a big fancy schmancy banner that doesn't have any sort of call to action on it.
Yeah, well, I always thought
Um,
when they first rolled out with the Warrior Banner ads, a lot of people were complaining that they were so limited. But I actually thought that Alan Says was really doing people an enormous favor because it basically removed like 99 out of 100 ways to fail, which is just to put up crummy graphics and terrible this and nothing that is a call to action and nothing underlined. So it really forces them into a narrow pathway that makes them basically create a better banner. And sure, it looks really plain, but really, I mean, I would test that type of banner against lots of other pretty banners that don't really get the click.
and actually, those almost always win. Okay, we have talked extensively about tracking in this course, and I think we also covered a couple of things in the beginning of this presentation. And this person went ahead and wrote this question at the beginning of the course before any of the stuff that we learned. But it is a good question. There are probably still some people that are like, gosh, how do I track my ads? Okay, so I would look at the traffic evolution system section on tracking the specific offers and also on using the third-party tools. Now, some people have said, I want an end-to-end solution. In other words, I want one tracking program, and I caution you against this, but what they've said is I want one tracking program that will create a link for me that I can post. I can put the link, I can figure out where it's going to go in the tracking system, and then I can advertise that specific link, and it'll give me all these metrics and all this data. There's one called Prosper 202. I believe it's still free. It's the self-hosted version. It really does integrate with so many different CPA networks and ad sources. It creates split test segments. It'll track actions or sales. It tracks the whole kit and caboodle. It uses a pixel tracking system, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. But if you are going to use an end-to-end solution, I would also make sure that you use double tracking with it. And what I mean by double tracking is this. If you're setting up a Prosper 202 tracking link or a HyperTracker tracking link, I would also use, and let's say it's an affiliate gig, I would use the sub-ID tracking in the system as well so I can track the whole kit and caboodle. Because quite often I will find that things don't track correctly. Tim and I are doing a big split test with Remarketing Secrets right now, and the numbers are not coming out accurate. What's coming out in ClickBank is not what's coming out in HyperTracker. So I know Tim and I talked about double tracking this, and we did set up the double tracker, and you know, it turns out that some of the sales aren't actually tracking because we use HyperTracker so many places that there's some link conflicts. So I always use a double tracking or a triple tracking, and if you are looking for a total solution, Prosper 202 is probably your best fit right now. But remember, you know, even Christian last week, Christian does this stuff all the time. I mean, he's got campaign after campaign running. Even he doesn't run everything through it because it's a pain in the ass to set up. So is it better to get a campaign set up in 3 minutes that uses the sub-ID tracking, and that's all it uses? Or is it better to spend 30 minutes or 20 minutes setting up a Prosper 202 link and making sure it's set up properly and adding all the variables and then advertising that and checking the, you know, the more you set up, the more you actually have to test and then make sure that it's working. But again, Prosper 202 is pretty cool. There's another really great benefit to it. There's a group called Meetup 202. And the people that own Prosper, Wes and Nana, are just like amazing. Like they just provide great support for affiliate marketers and just really, they're just really cool folks. And so you get to be part of their little community as well, which I think is really cool. And there's a lot of support within their community for the Prosper 202 tracking. But, you know, that's the closest thing to a beginning to end, you know, point-to-point total solution for tracking. And even that isn't perfect. Okay, can I outsource my paid media activities? Let's see if there's any questions there. Looks like we might have one.
Yeah, we've got one.
When you double track, which 2 or 3 do you normally use? Oh,
Ah, did you get cut off there, Jonathan? Not hearing you. Uh, Tony, I think he might have answered that to some degree. But actually, as far as what we're doing right now with the double track, we actually just went old school because in addition to using HyperTracker, what we did was we just set up a completely different product code and a completely different product path so that HyperTracker initially does the separation.
And then for a secondary,
Hold on,
yeah, but
Jonathan.
then there's,
Jonathan, can you hear me?
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
you cut out for like a minute. And
Oh, you're kidding.
yeah, just as you started to look at Tony's question, I was just saying that as far as us double tracking what we're doing right now, we actually just set up completely different product codes so that once HyperTracker sends one lead to this sales letter and one to the other, that if somebody buys product one, we can see that it was product one. And if somebody buys the second from the second sales letter, we can see they bought product two. So there's no possible way that can get screwed up because we can just look at the actual number of sales for products. Now, you can't do that if you're selling a product that you don't have, and so you would try to use append some kind of a tracking information. But for your own product, that's just, you can't beat it. So that's what we're doing right now.
That's right, and your shopping cart or your system will do it. But it's a great question, so I really wanted to, you guys can all hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what I will do is when I set up a simple campaign, let's use the example of an affiliate CPA offer that I'm going to run on TrafficVance. The first thing I will do is I will set up the tracking that's built in to TrafficVance, right? I'll do the sub-ID tracking. So I can go ahead and when I set up my tracking link and I load it into TrafficVance, I'm going to put the little keyword thing afterwards, and then that when I get a sale and I log into my my CPA network affiliate panel, I can say, oh, I can tell which keyword from which source generated this particular lead. But I will also go to TrafficVance and I will get their pixel tracking and I will load that pixel into the CPA network. So the first two tracking systems I use typically on an affiliate thing are the network's pixel tracking and the CPA network's sub-ID tracking. So those two better add up. Those two better match. And then the third thing I'll do is I'll add either a HyperTracker or a Prosper 202 link. So I usually only come up with a third-party tracking system if there's nothing built into the particular ad network or CPA network. And the truth is, every one that I use now, nobody doesn't have built-in pixel tracking, and nobody doesn't have sub-ID tracking. And if they don't have it, I just don't use them. So that's kind of the effective way that we kind of overcome that. Okay, let's go ahead. Did that answer the question? I hope it did.
Yeah, I think that definitely covered it, I think.
Okay, so people keep asking, can I just outsource this stuff? And I'm like, man, if there's one thing that you shouldn't outsource, it's your ad buying. Now, the only example I would say that might be different would be if you're going to use, and I know we're right at 5 o'clock, but I cut out for 10 minutes, so we're going to go 10 minutes over because we got a few more questions. Typically what I'll do is, I'll do everything in-house with regard to the advertising, and even if I'm letting someone else do it, I'll still look over their shoulder. Outsourcing for me is for customer support. It's for graphics, things like that. It's not going to be things like buying my ads. But if there is an exception to the rule, it might be somebody like Rocket Clicks, which is Glenn Livingston's company. They do a lot of AdWords buying, and and they'll do Bing and Yahoo for you. But the other reason I like to do things myself is my favorite part of buying media is BSing with the guys and talking story and having fun with the ad reps, especially if I get to know them and I run into them at AdTech. I mean, I let them buy me drinks and dinner, and that's cool. But not because I get drinks and dinner, because when we're having drinks and dinner, they'll tell me about all the other campaigns that are working and all the horrible advertisers that they work with and all the horrible networks that they work with and who I should spend my time with, and they'll recommend some great stuff. So I like to keep my media relationships close to home, right? Also, most of my media people, the importance, the juice, the street cred that you get is based on your total spend. And so when you have somebody else doing your media buying for you, they don't really have that incentive to keep the total spend down. And if there is a lot of spending going on and if it's profitable, I don't want that relationship to be with some outsourcer or somebody. I want to be the important guy in that person's rule or in that person's world. And that's why I like to keep that stuff over over my own domain. And the only thing might be is if I have affiliates who, are buying the media for me, and I do have a couple of those people. I'll have a fixed acquisition cost, so I'll be paying them X number of dollars per lead or whatever, and they're going out and doing all that stuff for me. But I always want to know what they're doing and where they're buying, because once the ROI doesn't work for them, it might still work for me, especially if it's from my own offer. Okay, what's the most responsive email or most responsive media available? Of course, it depends on the offer and the market, as well as how important the relationship is between the referrer and the prospect. Generally, it goes something like this. Email is hyper-responsive method for testing offers. If they click through, they're probably at least going to opt in or maybe buy. Text ads. This is a slightly different offer or a slightly different order than we gave you for the rollout. But the question was not how do you roll it out. The question is what's the most responsive. And what I found is email, text ads, and contextual ads are the most responsive. They might not be the best places to start because they're either expensive or there might be a lot of noise in that particular channel that you need to kind of figure out where the targeting is. But that's really where the big response is. And after that, banners. I will always start with PPV or CPV, but it's not the most responsive by a long shot, because if you look at a good opt-in rate, let's just look at an opt-in rate. The opt-in rate highest I've ever gotten is for email. The second, it's going to be for text and contextual. The third is banners, and then the fourth is PPV. Now, I'm paying a lot less money for that PPV click than I might be for a banner click, but still, it's going to be hard to get more than 2 to 5% of the people to opt in on that particular offer. It might make sense. It might be a better spend, a cheaper opt-in than the email opt-in. The email opt-in is just click for click going to be the most responsible or the most responsive traffic that you can get. That's why we all say the money's in the list. It's not really in the list. It's in the relationship that you have with the people that you send the email to. And then the last one would be pop-ups, something like, total interruption, unwanted, annoying. I'd be surprised if pops get, more than a 1% click-through rate. And most of the time, that's a click-through rate. That's a misclick because they're trying to close the window. Someone actually told me something funny about pop-ups. Is there was a pop-up that they designed in such a way that it had a little X up at the top, and they were getting just a ton of click-through rate on it. And they said, "Man, this has got to be the best CTR I've ever seen." It's kind of like there was this other ad unit that we looked at that was basically a total interrupt. It was like an ad that attached itself to your cursor. Tim and I were doing some testing with that. Well, it was getting like 5 and 10% click-through rate, but nobody was buying or opting in because they were so annoying that people, their goal with clicking on them was just to close them. So, that's really the kind of the response ladder that we've seen. How can I get my customer acquisition costs down? Well, it's really a matter of testing and tracking and tweaking and really getting your response rate as high as possible before you do the second most important thing, which is getting your media prices down. There's only two things you can do. You can make your ad more interesting, or you can pay less for the ad. And to make your ad more interesting and to make it make more money, that's really where that additional monetization stuff comes in, like the upsells and the downsells. But remember how many advertisers are willing to lose money on the initial sale just to get the prospect into the funnel. So how do you get the acquisition costs down? You negotiate lower ad prices. You make your ads more interesting through massive amounts of split testing. Okay, how do we set up an upsell process? This is a totally awesome question. A lot of systems out there now allow you to add an upsell. ClickBank allows you to do it. All the major shopping cart systems allow you to do it. And they're all fairly easy to set up. But, there's a formula that we have right here. And actually, I changed this formula since I created this. So basically what we do is we have a squeeze page, and then we send them to a sales letter. And then after they buy, we upsell them to a product that is approximately 100% of the price. It doesn't have to be exactly. It can be a couple of bucks off. But it's usually 100% of the same price of the first product that we sold. And then we have a second upsell that has the same price as the product that we sell. And then we have a continuity, and then this continuity, there's a lot of different formulas there, but it's usually about 25% of the price of that particular first product. So the path goes squeeze, sell, upsell one at 100%. So let's say it's a $49 product. Your upsell might be $47 or $49 or something like that. Your upsell 2 might be $39 or $59, but something around there. And then your monthly continuity upsell would probably be between, say, 15 and 20 bucks a month. And then they hit the thank you page. Tim, do you have anything to add on that, since you set up pretty much every one of our upsell paths?
Well, I don't know how many people do this, but whenever I purchase something, whenever I get to the upsell pages, I just go in my browser. I go File, Save As, all, so I get all the images and everything, and I just save everything. So in addition to, it's real common for people to sort of save favorite ads and stuff, but I consider the upsells to be possibly more important, and because a lot of times they're smaller, you can kind of get more gems out of them. So I just go File, Save As, and I save the entire upsell page. And if there's a video there's the plugin for Firefox that's called what is it called, Easy Downloader or something like that, that you can just download the video and look at it later at your convenience. And I really document all that stuff, because there's just that's really where the little, because you don't want to go on for days. A lot of times you just want to hit some bullet points, and right now we're running very short upsell pages for our products from Traffic Evolution and stuff like that, and it's because it's crafted really well, and it really is a economy of words and how to use it. So I would definitely recommend. I even save the thank you pages, because a lot of times the way the wording is, or maybe there's an upsell or recommended things on that. So in addition to sales letters, I save everything. So I would definitely encourage everyone to do that as well.
Wow, that's a really great idea. I used to just make a movie out of it. Like when I was going to buy something, I'd turn on my movie maker and I'd just do a big screen capture of the whole thing. And then I remember I used to make screenshots for you saying, "Did you see this deal?" And you would go through it, and you'd actually save the pages, and you'd come back with a lot of really, really great data. I think we only have one upsell on Traffic Evolution now, although we'll probably add another one shortly. We've got some new stuff that we're going to be coming out with. But in terms of upsells, this is probably the maximum. I also want to mention that I wouldn't really push beyond more than 3 upsells. We were on an offer, I can't remember whose offer it was. I probably wouldn't even embarrass them by saying it. Some ClickBank offer that had, was it 7 upsells? 6 or 7. Some ridiculous amount of upsells. And it was just too much, But it is an important thing to upsell during the sales process as opposed to after the fact, because after the fact someone has to enter in their credit card number again, and that's no fun. Okay, this was the #1 question that we got. We got probably 7 people asked this question, or 8 people asked this question. In various ways, shapes, or form, which is, how much should I spend on testing to see if I have a winner, and when should I just drop the campaign altogether? In fact, that's like such a huge question. That's a question that we have all the time. It comes up on almost every discussion forum. And the first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I like this offer? Do I own it? Is it exclusive? Has it been around for a while? Am I comfortable promoting it? You know, if you're not comfortable promoting it, you can drop it before you even test it. You have my permission. You don't have to promote something just because everybody else is doing a flog or some fake, you know, blog or fake review page or whatever. You don't have to do it. But if it's something that you're attached to and you really like, you know, what I would say is pick up the phone and just make sure it's going to be around, because it might take you a while to figure out if you have a winner. You know, pick up the phone and say, God, what's your deal? Like, call EWA. If it's an offer on EWA, call up your rep and say, what's your deal with this offer? Did you just get it? Is it not working? Are other people making sales? Can you give me some feedback or some help? Do you have any suggestions on targets or URLs or anything that you could give me, banners or some sort of creative? Like, you know, try to get something out of your rep over there. If it's your own offer, and you are really attached to it and you do really like it, you know, I would spend considerably more working on it if it's my own offer. But let's take the affiliate offer first. Ask the guy, how long is it going to be around? You know, a lot of times you'll see an offer and it's great and it pays like $40 for a lead or something, and then you'll call up the network and you'll say, hey man, I'm thinking about running this offer. Do you have any suggestions? And they'll say, don't bother, we're dropping it tomorrow, it doesn't convert. And then you know that it's not you, it's the offer. You know, a whole bunch of affiliates tried to work it, a whole bunch of affiliates failed. Or maybe they'll say, it's a great offer, we're about to really run it, we've been testing it, and it's been making good money, and if you promise to promote it for us, I'll raise your payout. And you can say, God, you got any data on it? Can you give me some information or some sort of help to make this thing work? You know, you want to make sure that if you're going to invest time and energy into it, it's something that you like and that it's in your preferred vertical market and that you have a generic campaign already that you know you can test it out with. And that way, you can go ahead and send your traffic to it and actually see if it makes money, knowing that you have the traffic part down and you don't really have to spend time on, you know, on worrying about the traffic. You already have a generic campaign set up in TrafficVance. You can get as much of that kind of insurance traffic or whatever it is that you like. You can send it in and you can just run it, and if it runs, if it works, and if it doesn't work, you can drop it. So if it's an affiliate offer, I usually spend 2 to 3 times my bounty, or $50, maybe up to $100, trying to get something to work. And here's the exception. Let's say it's an insurance offer, and I go to TrafficVance, and I set my daily spend at $25, and let's say it pays $10. And let's say at the end of the day I have one lead, and I've spent $25, and I haven't really made any money, right? I've lost $15. Or I've spent $15 finding out one thing that converts. I will go into TrafficVance, and I will say, well, where did I spend my, you know, my $25? Did I spend it on a bunch of targets that didn't convert? You know, do I have one target? The target that I spent it on that I got the conversion from, did I spend $1 or $2 on that? You know, maybe I can go ahead and I can find more targets like that. A lot of times I'll go in and I'll have a keyword like, you know, this is just an example, but like take the insurance offer. I'll have a keyword like, you know, buy insurance for less, right? Or discount insurance rates or something like that. And then I'll actually have Geico, and the discount insurance rates might generate $20 worth of traffic, but no conversion. But Geico might generate, you know, $5 worth of traffic and 2 conversions. And that's really where the optimization comes into play. Now, if in fact it's my own offer and I'm developing it myself, I'm only going to do that in an offer that I have a niche in, or that I have an interest in, and I've already done some pre-marketing for. So if it's my own offer, I might spend $500 or $1,000 to try to tweak it and make it work. But I'm usually going to have an opt-in list in that particular topic because I've made this offer based on testing affiliate offers first. And I'm usually going to have some remarketing pixels already set, so I can start running some banners. And I'm usually going to already have a squeeze page that works. So I'm probably not going to be coming at this thing from zero. So the short answer is, if it's my own offer, between $500 and $1,000. If it's an affiliate offer, I usually spend 2 to 3 times what the bounty is to try to get some conversions, or 50 or $100. Depends on if I really like the niche and I really like the market. Tim, what's your take on that? You got anything? And I know we're running like super duper over here, but we'll wrap it up.
Not overly. I mean, the main thing is trying to do what we talked about earlier, which is just being able to have a constant, so you know whether you're gauging the right thing. But that's kind of repeating what we talked about earlier. I do want to cover one more question that we got from Tony before we wrap things up, and he just said, are your lists responsive even if you don't mail to them frequently? And I guess I may have more feedback than some people on that, because I've got some lists in certain niches that I'm a little bit lazy sometimes. I actually abandoned one list in a niche that I was kind of bored with for about 8 months. I think I only mailed it like twice in a year or something like that. And since then, I came around and started mailing it weekly, and it's picked right back up. So in one sense, I didn't really have a problem with that. On another side, one of my websites has a lot of free video training. So when people opt in, they're opting in because they love all this free video training that I've done. And those don't really convert particularly well no matter what, because even though you would think that they think it's awesome, that they must have liked the videos enough to have opted in, there wasn't any type of a pitch or a sell. It was just kind of almost like a public service type thing. And that list doesn't really convert much for anything. So I think a lot of it has to do with how you're framing it for what they're opting in for. If they're opting in for some crazy bonus and they don't really want to be on the list, then that's going to convert a certain way. And if you kind of start having them expect that you're trying to sell them something right in the beginning, that's actually can be good, because it puts them in the understanding that that's your relationship. But I actually have not had a problem with dropouts and then mailing back. I don't know, Jonathan, have you ever neglected a list long enough to find out what the response is?
The only time I've neglected a list, and I've neglected a couple of them, is when I was going into a niche that I wasn't particularly crazy about, and then something that I just didn't. I thought this would be my only list. Like, for me, it's dating. I'll just tell you, I'm not really into the dating niche, and I created this dating product a while back, and I had this dating niche with like 2,500 people on it, and I mailed it. I think I set up about 6 or 8 different autoresponder follow-ups. So, whatever happened, and then I just kind of abandoned it for a year. Then I went back to it, and it wasn't big enough to really do anything with, but I had a singles or a dating offer that I was trying to get some stuff for, so I went ahead and I mailed it. And I'll tell you this much: if you wait over a year, you're just going to get spam complaints, because they have no idea who you are. They do not remember. So I think it's more important to mail people regularly, and by regularly I mean just once a month, even just a little heads up, or recommend a blog post, or take them to an information page. I can't remember who it was, but some guru dude, maybe Frank or somebody like that. I got an email from them a while back, and I hadn't heard from, it wasn't Frank because I hear from him all the time, it was somebody else. And I just got this email, and it just said, hey man, this is a really great resources for, for checking out something. I think it was compete.com, and it said, it's not an affiliate link. I just thought that you'd probably like this market research thing. So sometimes it's fine to just send out little bits of content, and that just keeps them kind of on the hook, where they know that they might be expecting something from you.
Yeah. Well, and one final thing on that. I know we're trying to wrap up, but I'm getting a couple of email promotions right now to my PayPal account, which is only used when I actually buy something, and I was certain that it was spam, because they don't say who they are, they don't say what you bought, it just jumps in and kind of has this real casual, kind of feels like kind of a BS approach. But I checked, and it's actually they're both AWeber opt-ins, which I started thinking I maybe bought some little cheapo Warrior Form thing or something like that, but they're not even identifying themselves, and I was super close to turning them in as spammers. So I always identify why someone is on the list, and I know some people think maybe you shouldn't do that because the language is going to get picked up by filters, but I would much rather have people understand why they're receiving information from me instead of, you know, having bought something from me and thinking that that I'm actually breaking rules by contacting them. So that's my personal preference.
Yeah, I'd rather disrespect the spam filters than my users. Tim?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I didn't see my little thing going. Okay, this has got to be the longest we've ever gone. We've got a bunch of people on. My God, I can't even believe it. I just want to thank you guys so much for staying on the call, even with all the little problems that we had at the very beginning. I've got 3 announcements. And the first announcement is that for anybody going to the Magic Bullet seminar, which is next week, I believe, in San Diego, Tim and I are going to be there. And we are going to have a traffic evolution party. So if you're going to be going to the Magic Bullet seminar, you can go ahead and drop me an email. We'll go ahead and send out an email to all you guys individually, just so you know. But you're all invited up to the traffic evolution party. We don't have the date. It'll probably be Thursday the 9th. It's going to be at our hotel, which is not where the seminar is. It's a few blocks away. But you guys are all invited to that. We would love to just meet you and spend time with you, talk about your campaigns. I know we had a great one at AdTech, and we'll go ahead and we'll replicate it. And then the second thing is that I can't even remember. What's the second thing? The second thing is that, like I said, I remember, the remarketing secrets. If you don't have a copy of that, go ahead and drop me an email, and I'll go ahead and make sure that you get on that. And we also really want to thank you for being part of the advanced course and also for coming onto these webinars. And if you're not on the webinar, you can go ahead and you can just listen after the fact on the private site. We just really appreciate your participation and you being customers and just being part of our crazy world here with paid media. And the only other thing I want to say is I'm going to now declare that the advanced course, at least the webinars, is now complete. We have completed the webinar portion. We are going to keep the Ning community open for at least 6 months, probably. I think we are, Tim. Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we're probably going to be having another advanced course group shortly, and we'll just keep putting people into that particular section because that will create a knowledge base with more advanced course people who are knowledgeable and, you know, like to share and have this same kind of crazy approach towards paid media. So definitely don't stop going there. It's going to stay open, and we're going to be continuing to add more information to it and, you know, growing that particular area. So with that said, Tim, do you have any last words for all our friends? They're all just hanging out. I love it.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for taking part in this, and definitely any questions that slip your mind and you wake up tomorrow and go, oh, you know, just go back to the Advanced Course Ning community and post it up, and we'll get those questions answered for you.
Oh, and one last thing. A couple of you guys still have, you know, you get a couple half-hour sessions one-on-one with either Tim or I. You know, we're not going to put a big time limit or anything. You need to do it within a year. How's that? So within 1 year, you will have to redeem your 1 hour of consulting. But anytime you guys want to do that, we'll make time for you, and we're just delighted and happy to do it. I mean, it's fun for us. We enjoy it, and you know, we could either both get on for half an hour, or you could do half an hour each. However you want to do it is fine. If you did purchase that gold version of the Traffic Evolution Advanced course, then you will get that. And I just want to encourage you to go ahead and to claim that, because we're happy to help you any way we can. And I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Okay, guys, we will see those of you who are going to be at Magic Bullet next week, and we'll see the rest of you on the Ning community.
Great. Thanks, guys.